welcome back to Binging with Badness, the only podcast that's back from the store after getting milk and cigarettes. My name is Mitchell McIntyre.
And I'm Vanessa Vogel.
And I can explain everything.
Go on.
When you last saw us,
Yes,
it was the year 2021. And I was a whole ass different human being back then. We took a little bit of a pause, and then we started doing another Christmas series. We were going to do all of the Home Alone movies in reverse chronological order. We had started with Home Sweet Home Alone, which still blows after all these years later, in case you're wondering.
100%.
And then, as we were getting ready to do the next one, my mom died.
Kind of put a damper on things.
Which put a bit of a stopper in holiday joy. And honestly, ever since then, it's just been trying to, I think multiple times we've been like, we should do that again. And then we didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're here now.
Hooray!
And you will notice by virtue of the title that we're not going to keep doing the Home Alone movies because it's January and we kind of missed that one.
By about 3 years.
Give or take. But we are back on a new one. Given that superheroes are the cool thing, and we just had a Wolverine movie,
Yeah.
we thought, why not? Let's not. It's been a while. Let's ride that trend, and we are going to do the X-Men movies, starting with X-Men, and ending with, and we've been kind of kicking this around. Do we end with, X-Men Dark Phoenix? Or do we end with Deadpool and Wolverine?
Deadpool and Wolverine. That way I have a reason to watch Deadpool and Wolverine.
There is that. So, this one's going to work a little bit different because it is not one long series, but also it is because we have X-Men X2 and X3. Then we have First Class, which is technically a reboot, but then Days of Future Past continues the reboot, but also mushes the original timeline in with the reboot.
Yeah.
Making it one big thing. And that's a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. So we will go through there when we get there. And then there's the question of the Wolverine movies.
Yeah.
You know, there's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which sucks, and then there's The Wolverine, which sucks a little less, and then there's Logan, which is fantastic. And, they're technically connected, but are they? Anyway, we'll figure it out when we get there. If you guys want to hear us do that, let us know now. We'll wait.
I mean, they're comic book nerds. They'll have comments.
So we are going all the way back to the year 2000.
You have to explain to the children what it was like in 2000 because seeing as it's 2025, the general audience was not born yet.
So, boy, as we rest on that, that phrase, Jesus Christ. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. X-Men is a 2000 American superhero film.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now seeing the beginnings of another stage of human evolution.
The truth is that mutants are very real, and they are among us. We must know who they are, and above all, what they can do.
We're not what you think, not all of us.
Who are you people?
What kind of place is this?
I'm Professor Charles Xavier. I built this school where mutants could learn to focus their powers in a positive way.
Directed by, unfortunately, Bryan Singer. Now, there's going to be no way to exercise ourselves from Bryan Singer. Because he has a hand in a lot of these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's a bummer. He's a piece of shit. Let's move on. And we deserved a better director for the Queen biopic. And this is made from a screenplay by writer David Hayter.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who David Hayter is?
No. Is he the original hater?
No. Kind of. So, David Hayter, for those of you who don't know, is a writer, which is, surprising to me, because I know him best as the voice of Solid Snake.
What?
He was Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid for every single game except for Metal Gear Solid 5.
Huh.
Yeah, he has had a hand in writing a fair few superhero movies. This is not going to be the last time he pops up.
Does he get better with time, or does he age like milk?
Well, it kind of matters on your feeling. I don't think he gets any better or any worse, But yeah, so back to your boy here, Bryan Singer. You may know, as he directed The Usual Suspects, then Nothing for a little bit, then X-Men. He did the Superman Returns movie, which tried to continue on the storyline from the original Superman movies.
Okay.
So it takes place after Superman 2, but ignores 3 and 4.
That's a weird place to put a Superman movie, but okay.
Yeah. He also did the movie Valkyrie, which is the one where Tom Cruise tries to kill Hitler.
Why don't I remember any of these?
Because it wasn't huge.
Oh.
And then he did like a lot of X-Men movies. He is coming back. And then he did Bohemian Rhapsody, which sucked. I'm sorry.
It was fine.
It sucked.
It was fine.
I
When he was making Bohemian Rhapsody, the song in Bohemian Rhapsody, that was a great scene.
There are good scenes in it, obviously, but like, oh boy. Yeah. Not really my cup of tea. The writer, whose name is Tom DeSanto, has written X-Men and literally nothing else.
Ever?
Never. He is more so a producer than anything.
Oh, that explains a lot.
And your boy, David Hayter, has done X-Men, The Scorpion King.
The Mummy, the Scorpion King.
Yes.
Okay.
The Rock movie.
I see. Okay.
X2, Watchmen.
I liked Watchmen.
Yeah, a movie that not just came out. This is a different Wolves. A movie called Wolves. Which Lucas Till is in it, so God help him. And,
Why are you making that face?
oh, it must be. I saw the words Yakuza Infinite Wealth pop up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am 80% sure he didn't write that. It's not. He's a voice in it.
Additional voices?
I don't know if he's actually a character or not. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, alright.
So, based on the Marvel Comics superhero team of the same name created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, respectively. Starring Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, Famke Janssen, James Marsden, Bruce Davidson, Rebecca Romaine Stamos, Ray Park, and Anna Paquin. If I have to tell you who any of those people are, is this the first movie you've ever watched?
You may have to tell the children who Halle Berry is.
Halle Berry plays Storm. And she's always kicking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She puts in some great performances, some absolutely abhorrent ones. We'll talk about where she rates on this one. But no hate to Halle Berry. She's fantastically talented. But yeah, that is where we are going. I have never seen this trilogy of movies. I saw Future Past and I saw like the First Class ones. But this original trilogy, it just passed me by. For one reason or another.
I feel like I have seen either clips of them or parts of them, or maybe I did see them and I don't remember. But
Yeah.
like, part of it is familiar, and the other part is, have I seen this before?
It doesn't help that this movie is, and prepare yourselves, 25 years old.
Yep.
To put that in perspective, 25 years before this movie came out, it was 1975. So, with our knees hurting and our joints clicking, let's jump right in. Curtain up. Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. The process is slow, and normally taking thousands upon thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward. We get a lot of voiceover by Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart plays Dr. Xavier, and I feel stupid saying this out loud.
What?
But Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are fantastic in this role.
Have they ever done a bad job? I mean,
Yeah,
really.
Ian McKellen was in Cats, and that's...
Yeah, but he didn't want to be. Nobody did. I'm pretty sure they just kidnapped actors off the street for Cats.
That's enough right there. But, like, when they are on screen... And this is, again, no kind of hate to any of the other actors. There are levels. And these two are above y'all. You know what I mean? Like, Hugh Jackman does a great job, and, Anna Paquin does a great job, and but, like, then you see Ian McKellen, and you're like, oh, fuck. That guy is an actor.
Have they done anything recently? Those two?
Those two together?
Not together, but individually. I thought they were retired.
Oh, they're always kind of kicking around. Patrick Stewart is actually a main voice actor on American Dad.
Is he really?
Yeah, and has been since it came out. He just did the Picard miniseries, which I think was 3 or 4 seasons.
That makes sense.
And then, like I said, Ian McKellen was in Cats, so... yeah. But yes, so the opening credits start the year 2000. Because it's all, like, metal and swooping and fast motion and, like, really slick kind of computer-generated graphics and...
Yeah.
It's it echoes the metal kind of underground that is the X-Men laboratory. And then, like, at the beginning, or at the end of it, you see, like, this big X door, and it's like, X-Men. And then it opens up to Auschwitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is not a surprise. Magneto, or Eric Lyncher, has always been a Holocaust survivor. But sometimes, when you're not expecting it to open the film, it kicks you in your heart's butt. And especially as it's so slick and so cool and so, like, stylish. And then Auschwitz, and you're like, oh no.
Oh dear.
Humans are the worst.
Uh-huh.
In honestly, a very sad scene, a young Eric Lenscher is separated from his mother, because Nazis. Hard to make a joke out of this. He is separated, there is screaming, there is crying, and he is reaching out to his mother, who is beyond this metal gate. And the gate itself begins to bend, as emotion and trauma is something that can trigger a dormant mutation. Moving on from that to a scene from A Walk to Remember. Because in Meridian, Mississippi, a 17-year-old girl named Marie, played by Anna Paquin, accidentally puts her boyfriend into a coma. She kisses him in a very, chaste and Jesus-loving way, and that motherfucker dies.
She said she put him in a 3-week coma.
Yeah, he does live. He's put in a 3-week coma because her powers suck. She essentially can absorb the life force from another being. And for mutants, it's just copying their power. But for regular humans, it's putting them into an exhaustive coma. Oh, so that sucks. But yeah, she runs down to the family and is just like, help! Mm-hmm. And then we never see this family again. As she takes to the road.
Like immediately.
They were talking about making a trek up to Alaska. For no reason other than it would be fun, I guess.
I mean, teenagers, am I right?
Yeah. And so she's like, well, I got the plan, and away she goes. Cut to present day U.S. A Senator Robert Kelly is attempting to pass the Mutant Registration Act, which is basically forcing those with a mutation to sign it and kind of expose themselves as to who they are. You may recognize this as the exact plot to Captain America Civil War. And I don't know if this was like one and the same, if these things came out like this is part of Civil War.
You think... No, because Civil War wouldn't come out for a number of years, you know? But like...
No, but like the comic.
Oh,
like
the
I don't
comic?
know if that's the storyline we're kind of weaving into.
That's maybe. I mean, like, that could have been the overlap there, but also it just might be symbolism.
That is true. So, trying to argue in favor for mutants is Dr. Jean Grey. And as she says, Dr. Kelly, Senator Kelly, comes up and is like, we have to answer 3 simple words. Are mutants dangerous? And she's like, yeah, well, like, people who drive cars are dangerous. And it's like, but we license people to drive, don't we? And she said, yeah, we license people to drive, not to live. There is a lot of... This movie is of its time.
Well...
And it continues to this day.
Well, you have to understand that the X-Men always stood in for the gay community, right?
Yes.
Like, let's just call a spade here. It's homophobia, all right?
It's homophobia, and especially now you can see it's transphobia. It's
yes.
Like the X-Men. This in the 25 years since this movie came out.
Yeah.
God knows how long X-Men in general have been out. Shit ain't changed. Uh-oh.
I mean, it got moderately better, but now it's getting worse.
And it got moderately worse. So
yeah.
We have hit kind of a net zero on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could have wrote this exact same scene in today and wouldn't have changed. In the audience, a bald man in a wheelchair is listening to the whole thing, kind of hoping that people will see that humanity and mutants can coexist. This is Professor Charles Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart. Mm-hmm. And if you asked me to pick a guy who looks more like Charles Xavier than Patrick Stewart, I could not.
Yeah. The Rock would try, though.
You would too. Anything to get in the MCU.
Yeah, but he wants to be like a big-time hero.
That's true, he does. So he comes about another man he knows. The adult Eric Lesher, played by Ian McKellen. And every time these two have a scene together, it is fantastic.
True facts.
They play off each other so well. They're best friends in real life, which is so cute.
They're heterosexual life mates.
They basically are. And so Eric is basically like, fuck these humans. I knew this wouldn't pass. Everybody's got to die.
I mean, in Eric's defense, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of tired of waiting. And Charles is like, look, just give me a little bit more time. I can show you the humanity in humanity. And he kind of like starts going into his brain because Dr. X is a telepath. He can read your mind. And he says, are you sneaking around, Dr. Charles? What is it you are looking for? And he goes, hope. And he goes, oh, I'll give you hope. And Dr. X is just like, this isn't going to work out the way I want it to. Cut to Marie getting out of some guy's truck. She hitchhiked somewhere up north.
Yeah, she's in Canada.
She's somewhere in Canada.
I believe it's Alberta. Like,
they did mention going up through Alberta.
No, I think the subtitles literally said Alberta.
Or maybe the subtitle said it. That is true. She gets kind of kicked out, and she stumbles on some out-of-the-way bar, which is also a fight club.
Who are we to question Canada's pastimes?
That is true. We finally got hockey without all that yucky hockey.
I'm just, your guys' favorite catchphrase, it's not a war crime the first time, so like...
Amen. So she goes in, she sees some guy fighting in a cage. Some schmuck and some guy with a dickhead nickname, Wolverine. What a dork. Anyway.
You keep making jokes like that. Hugh Jackman's going to jump out of our walls.
He's going to find me and I will be a dead man. This is Hugh Jackman, who plays Wolverine for the first time, of many, many times. This is as skinny this is as small as we'll ever see Hugh Jackman. Because right now he looks like a normal man.
Yeah.
He looks like a normal man who could also be Wolverine.
Yeah.
By the time we hit, like, Logan, not even Logan, like Deadpool and Wolverine, he is shredded.
That's that Les Mis workout.
He is, yeah, right? He is in his 60s plus and is just in amazing shape.
Jacked as all hell.
At this point, he also looks so young.
I know.
He's 32, so he's not like, it's not like he's 18. But oh my god, fresh-faced Hugh Jackman. Baby Hugh Jackman. So he beats the shits out of this one guy. And he's like, hey, do yourself a favor. Don't kick him in the balls. He goes, well, I thought this was no rules. He goes, it is. He just won't appreciate it. Hi, Joss Whedon.
Was that Joss?
So, for those of you who might not know, Joss Whedon did uncredited rewrites on this movie, including the very famous line, I know you all know is coming, we will get there.
The frog thing?
The frog thing.
Oh, boy.
He beats up a guy. Huzzah. So, Wolverine and this underage girl are just sitting at the bar watching TV. And on it, they are talking about the Ellis Island or Liberty Island being used as a sort of G8 summit thing for mutants. Like, this is where we'll take the vote on whether or not the Mutant Registration Act should be a thing. And the guy comes back, and he's like, hey, you cheated. And Wolverine's like, I have no time for this. He goes, I know what you are. You're and then he gets his ass kicked. Maria is like, look out! And he looks out.
I mean, knives were being thrown.
And they're just like, no mutants in this bar. And he's like, okay, I didn't really like it here anyway. And he gets back into his car. He's driving like, it's a truck, and then it's like
it's like a mobile home.
A mobile home, and then like another
a
trailer, like a wagon is behind it. He gets into his car, and he does the thing that I feel like we forget. And he checks his hands. Because the claws coming out hurt physically. And this is something we just kind of ignore.
Yeah.
Later on down the line.
Well, you kind of have to, because one, let me insert GIF of Wolverine cutting salami. And two, if we acknowledge the fact that he's in pain every time we do this, we feel bad for rooting for Wolverine.
Yeah, I suppose. This leads me to another question. So, in the world of mutants, say you are like Wolverine and you have an adamantium skeleton and you have a healing factor. Mm-hmm. If you joined the UFC, do you have to disclose this mutation? And if you do, or if you have to and you don't, is that considered cheating?
Okay, first of all, they don't even disclose steroids in the UFC, so I feel like it's fair game.
Looking at you, John Jones.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Second of all, like, As long as he doesn't use the claws, I feel like it's fair game.
All right, but he's got an adamantium skeleton.
Okay.
Submissions, like, you can't break a
You don't...
adamantium.
You make it sound like these guys give a shit. Like, I've seen them wrestle furniture. Like...
That is true. I was just wondering, I'm like, is it cheating? Like,
I don't think it's cheating. I think because... Well, okay, in this universe, he was upgraded to have adamantium. Right?
yes, he was not born with an adamantium skeleton.
Yeah, this is not the universe where he was born made of metal.
Yeah.
That is, I think, in another reboot. I think it's in the reboot where he...
God knows.
Look, by the time Deadbolt gets here, he's clearly made of adamantium. It's not an upgrade, right? So, like... I wouldn't, but I think legally he would have to. But, like, no one's gonna fucking check.
See, these are the hard-hitting questions you only get here.
And I think he would do numbers.
I think so, too. So, he goes down the road. He notices some movement in his trailer.
Yeah.
He gets out, and then there's Marie. And she's like, hey, hi. And he's like, get out. And she's like, oh, but where am I supposed to go? And he goes, that is literally not my problem. We've never met. And she's like, I saved your life. And he goes, no, you didn't. And he gets in the car and he drives away for about 3 seconds. And then he's like, children.
He's got a soft spot for kids. It starts with him protecting a little girl, and it ends with him protecting a little girl.
Son of a bitch. Yes, it does.
He's got a soft spot for kids. He always does.
I didn't even catch that. So he's like, all right, get in the fucking car. And so he's like, all right, what's your name? And she's like, Rogue. And he goes, what kind of name is Rogue? And she goes, what kind of name is Wolverine? You got me there. He says his name is Logan, and she says her name is Marie.
We couldn't find a more organic way to call her Rogue.
Well, you know, it kind of makes sense because she is like on the lam. She's a rogue agent. I don't know.
I'm just saying, this is clearly something her 16-year-old brain made up.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't get any better. So they drive for a little bit. She explains her kind of mutation, which is that when she touches people, bad things happen.
They die.
And Wolverine explains his, which is, I have claws. Then they are almost immediately in a car accident because we can't let a scene sit for 5 goddamn seconds.
I mean, it was icy, and then a giant fuck-off ice tree fell on them, so, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Logan is thrown from the car and almost definitely dies. But then, you know, healing factor. Rogue is stuck in the seatbelt. She can't get it free. And now it's on fire. That sucks. But wouldn't you know it, it gets worse. Because up comes, Wolverine. He stands up, he like cracks his neck. He's like, I'm fine. You fine? And she's like, no! And he's like, makes sense. And he stops and he goes, I smell something. And that something is Tyler Mane as Sabretooth. Now, Sabretooth, I believe, is Logan's brother. But he don't know that yet.
Yeah, the canon gets real weird.
So, Sabretooth... And now, if you were ever to picture a man named Sabretooth in your head...
Yeah.
It looks like this guy.
I mean, this guy... I mean, yeah, he does look like a Sabretooth, but he also looks like he took a trip to Party City. You know what I mean?
We didn't have a whole lot of money. But as Sabretooth goes and immediately just tanks Wolverine. Like, knocks him clear unconscious. That's the other thing. Wolverine can go unconscious. Like, he's not invulnerable completely.
That's true. He just gets better.
Yeah, he just gets better. But they are saved by 2 folks in very dark spandex, who we will come to know as Cyclops and Storm, played by James Marsden and Halle Berry, respectively.
Yeah. Why was Storm here when Cyclops did all the work? We were outside.
So, here's the thing about Storm.
Yeah.
She is crazy powerful.
Yeah, she's an Omega level threat.
Yeah, she literally can control the weather. And so that makes her a very popular character. But the problem is, you want a very popular character who's very powerful. You can't take them on milk runs like this.
Right? So, like, why are we letting Cyclops, Laser Eyes, do all the work when all she has to do is zap Sabretooth and get the kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
She can fly, guys.
Yeah. So that happens. The world fades to black. And then fades back to color. As Sabretooth goes back to Magneto's hidey hole of mutants. And he's like, I didn't do it. And he's like, stupid bastard. Anyway, that doesn't matter. We're going to do another thing. Follow me.
And everything Magneto owns is solid steel with, like, sharp edges, which is cool to look at, and I'm sure very useful for his powers. But, my dude, buy a cushion.
Not a single cushion to be had. Meanwhile, I'm going to say this a lot because scenes do not last very long here. It is very, especially, like, we've seen a ton of shit happen. We are probably 20 minutes into the movie at this point.
Yeah. We're hauling ass.
We are hauling ass through this movie. Wolverine, who is still crazy unconscious, is being worked on by some doctor who we will soon know as Dr. Jean Grey, played here by Femme Jansen. And she goes to input an IV in Wolverine just to kind of get some fluids in him. He wakes up and just chucks her aside.
I mean, if I woke up and being experimented on, I would freak out too.
Oh yeah, no, I don't blame him. Especially, he's got a bit of a temper. So he just, like, throws her aside, grabs a random shirt, and just, like, stalks through the hallways. And it's an underground laboratory, which obviously causes some PTSD in the man.
Everything's slick, everything's shiny. The costumes are in, like, display cases, which is a choice.
Well, it's kind of like how, when you win a championship for college or high school,
yeah,
they have the uniform and the trophy.
Yeah, but you don't take the uniform out every time there's an emergency.
Damn, you're right.
That's why I say it's a choice. Like,
yeah.
What are you going to do, break class in case of Magneto?
Every time. So he goes, like, through the hallways, and he eventually finds a door that opens up to a stately wooden manor.
Yes.
And he hears a voice in his head. Just like, this way. Come along.
Over here.
Where are you going? Come here. And Logan is probably thinking he's going nuts.
I mean, I would assume so.
But then he hears talking, and he hears words, and he hides as a gaggle of the most drastic of villains. High schoolers.
Yeah.
As they walk in a clique down the hallway, probably making fun of me and the way I wear my shoes.
How do you wear your shoes?
Don't worry about it. So he hides and just into another room, to which he goes face to face with Dr. Charles Xavier and a bunch of students. And he's like, read chapter 3 and up to page 46. Logan, how you doing? Breakfast? And he's just like, what in every fuck? And Charles is like, physics. We have to learn things. This is a school, by the way.
I don't just hoard children.
I don't just be keeping children just in case. And here we get 5-10 straight minutes of exposition.
Yeah, like, it's not good. Like,
it gets the job done.
Okay, the only thing Logan asks is, who is Magneto? And he decided to tell him his entire backstory.
Yes. So we get the rundown on what Charles Xavier's school for the radically gifted, or whatever it's called.
What did we call it? Fucking amazing kids?
Oh yeah, Charles Xavier School of Fucking Amazing Kids. Which is, the story is that it is just a school for gifted and talented children who are good at math.
Mm-hmm.
But what it really is for mutants. Children who are mutants and who need to learn how to use their mutations for good, or at least, at the very least, control it. So they don't, kiss their boyfriend and cause them to go into a coma.
They also need to know things like physics and health class.
Yeah, so here's the difference between why this is a good school and Hogwarts for the school of magically talented kids is stupid. Because here, they do learn how to use fire, and they do learn how to use their powers for good and how to control them. They also learn math. As this is a boarding school.
Yeah. So, like, next time anyone writes a magical school, remember to teach them math.
So, long story short, Logan's been on the road for about 15 years. His mind was wiped. We don't know why, but he's been a hobo ever since. We meet Cyclops, Storm, and Jean Grey proper. And we kind of get a rundown on what is going on. We find out that Magneto wants basically mutant supremacy. And that's bad. Don't want that.
I mean, like, Magneto's got a point, though. They're hunting these people and registering them like it's World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. But they both want the same thing, just different ways.
That's fair.
And I didn't really, like...
It's a Zack Snyder cut all over again.
Well, it's not so much that. It's Martin Luther King and it's Malcolm X.
Fair enough.
They both wanted the same thing. Just one wanted to go a little bit more violent about it. So that's kind of where we're at. And Charles is like, look, give me 48 hours to figure out why it is Magneto wants you. And then I will help you find out where you came from and all that stuff you care about. Meanwhile, in a helicopter, Senator Kelly is working on this whole registration thing. He thinks it's going well. Nobody else really wants it, but whatever. His assistant then turns blue. As you do.
Not in he's strangling to death, but in now he's Mystique.
Yes, this is Mystique, played by Rebecca Romaine Stamos. And she is bringing him home to Magneto.
Is that not J-Lo?
No, it wouldn't be Jennifer Lawrence until First Class.
Oh, well, alright.
I believe Jennifer Lawrence is like 13 years old at this point.
That would never stop anyone in Hollywood.
Yeah. So they bring Senator Kelly to a cave of some sort. A much less cool underground base than Charles Xavier has. And he's like, hey, what happened and where's my assistant? And they're like, your assistant's been dead for a long time. It's been Mystique pretty much the entire thing.
She's like, hey.
Hi. Mystique, for those of you who don't know, is a shapeshifter. Her natural body is a blue, scaly, almost chameleon-like thing.
Yeah, and it just looks at it, and if you know anything in makeup, you go, that is 12 hours in a chair.
Yeah, there's a reason why Jennifer Lawrence didn't do it for that long. So, Magneto runs what he likes to call the Brotherhood of Mutants, which is the yin to Charles's yang. And Kelly asks what they're going to do with him. And Magneto responds like, you're a God-fearing man. You know, God works in mysterious ways. But also, let's just say God works too slowly. He gets into a giant thing and does some stuff about it until a plasma of sorts emanates from it. And then that's all we know.
I mean, like, it kind of looks like, if I had to describe it, it's like, it honestly looks like one of those magnetism toys with the sphere and the rings that kind of, like, move itself.
I'll bet you that's what they're trying to aim. Like, that's what they based it on.
Yeah. It looks like that, except because it has, what's his name? Ian McKellen in it?
Ian McKellen in it.
It looks evil and not a fun science toy.
So here's kind of the problem with this one. You know something is happening, but like as the power recedes, he's fine, they're fine, nobody's hurt. The only person who seems a little worse for wear is Magneto.
Yeah.
Because he's tired. Okay, let's not explain that. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like you put on a ball and light show.
Yeah. Back to Xavier's school. They put Logan in an MRI to figure out what exactly the fuck he is. He hits on Jean Grey, who is currently in a relationship with Scott Summers, and as far as I know, will be in that relationship until the day one of them dies. Depending on which book you're reading.
Or cloned, depending on which book you're reading.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So...
Their kids literally both destroy and save the world.
Yeah. So they kind of look into his innards, And they find out what we already know. He's Wolverine. He has metal bones.
Wouldn't an MRI just give him the worst headache?
I would think.
Because it's all metal.
There are parts of this that they kind of talk about, and that I don't think they use enough.
Okay.
The fact that during some of the fight scenes, Magneto grabs a hold of those claws and like yanks on them and pulls them apart.
Yeah.
Which would be horrifyingly painful. And they kind of touch on it a little bit, but then they kind of leave it alone. So yeah, we find out kind of what makes Logan, and that he has a healing factor.
Yeah. In this version, adamantium was grafted onto his regular scheduled skeleton, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So from here, he gets his own room. He gets to stay here for a little bit. Talks to Jean Grey for a little bit. I apologize. Who she is telekinetic. She can move things with her mind, and she is a little bit psychic in the way that Charles is, but not as good.
I mean, she's the fucking Phoenix, but...
I was going to say, something that will not cause a problem at any point, no matter what.
Uh-huh. Definitely not a historic comic book arc.
Yes. As she leaves, Cyclops and Logan get into a dick measuring contest because they both have to be the biggest men to ever men. He's like, what, you going to tell me to stay away from your girl? And he goes, no. I'd have to do that if you were a threat. And if, I had anything to worry about. Like, I'm the leader, and this is how this is gonna go. And also, by the way, stay away from my girl.
I mean, to be fair, Logan was being pretty gross when she was just like, I can move things with her mind. Like, yeah, what else can you make it move?
Hey, gross.
Dude.
That night, moving on from this
Clusterfuck.
Yeah. Logan has some nightmares of the implantation process, which we do flash back and forth quite a bit to. So Rogue goes on to check on him to make sure he's okay, because she's nice like that. He wakes up in a panic and stabs her through the chest.
Whoops.
This caught me by surprise, because again, I haven't seen these movies. I don't know how big a role Rogue plays. And so there was a moment where like, holy shit! And how are we gonna get this out of this one, Scoob? And he's very like, there's an apologetic tone to him. He's very worried. He's scared. It's not often you see emotion out of Wolverine that's not hate that guy.
Yeah.
So Rogue, they try to bring people in. Rogue reaches up and touches his face, and she takes the healing factor from Logan for at least a little bit. So the healing factor heals her, but it leaves Logan
without it.
It leaves him weakened and leaves him without it for a little bit, which causes him to go unconscious, which happens a lot in this movie now that I'm reading it out loud.
I mean, like, okay, when Rogue usually steals someone's powers, it usually doesn't leave them for dead. Or maybe that's because she's a kid, or we need drama. I'm not sure what's going on here, but like,
it's an interesting point. Like, I do like how they do that. Back to Robert Kelly. He is imprisoned in some kind of like hydroelectric dam,
I guess,
thing.
He is in peak supervillain lair, where it's a sheer cliff next to an ocean, and like just metal bars. Because why would Magneto need a door if you have metal bars?
Yeah. We don't know the layout of Magneto's, like...
It's dumb is what it is.
So he's in the prison, and he's, like, sticking his head, like, into the bars.
Yeah.
And then eventually it starts to, like, ooze through. As he can, like, slip through the bars, Mr. Fantastic style. So he kind of, like, pushes his way through, and he falls. And he kind of, like, grabs onto the thing. And Magneto's like, what's up, bitches? Are you still... Where did you go? And he's like, help! And Magneto's like, fuck it. How's the weather down there, dumbass?
You're making this sound way more comedic than it actually was.
Well, yeah, because this scene isn't really much. And he's like, "Oh, what did you do to me?" And we kind of figure out what that thing is. It is a radiation.
It makes the frogs gay.
It turns the freaking frogs gay. By which I mean it turns the non-mutant into mutant. It gives them a mutation similar to that of everybody else. So Sabretooth goes down to grab him, and he's like, pick him up, make sure he's good. He grabs him, but then he like phases into water in his hand and falls.
Shit.
And that's really, they were just like, ah, man. Oh, well. He goes, and Magneto and Sabretooth don't get along.
Why would anyone work for Magneto? Like,
I don't know. So Magneto walks to the door, Sabretooth goes on behind him, but he shuts the cell door behind him as if, like, to keep him there. And I thought, like, oh, he's mad at him. He's keeping him there as a prisoner. No, it's literally done as a wah, wah. And because he's back next scene.
it's true. Because, like, Sabretooth had one job. Get his ass back in the prison. And he dropped him.
Yeah. So I thought he died.
Because any normal person would.
Yes, but he washes up on a beach. So I believe his power is to turn into water. Or have the form of water.
Or some sort of fish situation?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he kind of appears on the beach. And they're like, isn't that Senator Robert Kelly? And he, like, walks to a thing. He sees a TV about what's going on. You see Stan Lee in the background. What up, Stan?
Yeah.
And he just, like, he grabs a shirt. And then for a brief second, I thought, oh, okay, so that's not the actual Robert Kelly. That's a monster now. Because he walked out like the Terminator did when he, like, made it just... And now I will see what's going on.
No, everyone was just, like, horrified to see the senator buck naked walking on the beach out of the ocean, I guess.
You know what? Some people are prudes. So while this is going... Yeah, this Robert Kelly storyline is...
Convoluted.
It's odd. I see where they were going with it, but it's like I didn't have enough time, or...
Which is wild. This movie's like 2 hours.
It's about $1.45. It's not too long. But it did kind of need to be longer. Anywho, Bobby Drake, who is played by Sean Astin, who you will eventually know as Iceman, tells Rogue that she fucked up huge. They have kind of a budding romance going on. It's not really focused on too much, but there's a little bit of like, hey, and that's it. She's like, yeah, no, you fucked up huge, and Professor Xavier is pissed, and like they're looking for you, and she's like, oh, I guess I should go. And they're like, no, you have to leave, like leave for good, like never come back again. You have to fuck directly off. And I was like, well, that's oddly out of character for Bobby Drake. Mm-hmm. Of course it is. It's not Bobby Drake. It's Mystique. She convinces Rogue to just leave and never come back.
Okay. This is where I take a problem with our resident telepath, right?
Okay.
You have coded the entire mansion to be friendly to mutants. You didn't think of the obvious superpower of a shapeshifter?
That's a good point. But, like, how do you check for that? You know what I mean?
Cameras!
There are.
No.
There should be.
There should be. But this is how, like, there are, even in the canon of mutants, like, Magneto has a good point. Like, you should be able to strike back and live a free life as a mutant, right? You shouldn't have to wait on them so you can live in peace, right?
Right.
But he also plays chess with a telepath.
That is a good point.
Like, there are some stupid decisions in the whole universe, you know?
This is why you marry a lawyer. So, she leaves. They notice she's gone. And they're like, right, let's break out Cerebro. And Logan's like, oh, fuck, what? Cerebro, for those of you who don't know, is a big helmet.
In a big room.
In a big room. There's a room for the helmet. It's the helmet room. To which it essentially amplifies Dr. Xavier's powers, and he can find other mutants with this thing. And Logan is like, well, why don't we just use it to find Magneto? Which is a good question.
Yeah.
And the answer is, we don't know. For some reason, he's doing something that stops me from finding him. And he's like, why? He goes, I don't know. He helped me build this, so...
So he found a way around it.
Shit, that's awkward.
Boyfriends.
Yeah, they really are. And so Logan asks Jean Grey, like, why don't you ever use it? Like, why is it just his? It's like, you're psychic. And apparently Cerebro takes some degree of control away from the user. This isn't really explained here. But she's like, yeah, I don't use it because I'm too much too fast, man. Like, I don't want to taunt it.
Well, I imagine Cerebro it's just too fucking strong, right?
I could see it, yeah. So, because Logan is a bad boy who don't gives no fucks,
Yeah.
he is told to stay, but he steals a bike and leaves.
See, that's on brand.
Yeah, that's what you do. And he finds Rogue pretty much immediately. They find out she's at a train station, and he's like, "Great, I know exactly what a train is." And he like sits by Rogue, and he's like, "Hey, sorry about the stabbing thing."
And she's like, no, it was my fault. I got too close to the stabber.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, no, sorry about the stealing your powers thing. And he's like, yeah, no, we both kind of fucked up here.
But it's not really her fault. She was trying to save her own life.
It's neither of their fault, really. Like,
I'm just saying, I know that What's-His-Nuts didn't actually blame her. No one did.
nobody did, yeah.
But, like, she shouldn't feel bad for trying to save her own life.
Yeah. So that's basically what Logan says. It's like, look, I've been a hobo for a while now. And, like, this place, they're all fucking dorks.
Yeah.
Like, they're such nerds, but they're good-hearted nerds.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe this is a place we can give it a shot. And I believe he actually says, why don't we give those dorks one more try?
I think it's geeks.
Geeks! I'll give these geeks one more shot, huh?
It's very Johnny Lawrence. It's given high school bullying.
It is Johnny Lawrence. So while this is going on, back to the Xavier School for Xaviers. Mystique, who is still in the form of Iceman, just traipses through the place like ain't nobody's business.
Cameras.
He goes to the door where Cerebro is. Obviously, Xavier and everybody else, they're out finding where Rogue is. She goes to Cerebro, opens it up, puts in some goo.
Yeah.
Replaces one goo with another goo.
Yep.
And now that's bad now.
It's unexplained. Not even a little bit.
I was going to say, did I miss it?
No, I think the implication is, look, it's cloudy now, ergo I've poisoned it.
That's really what it is. I don't know what the goo does.
Or where did she get the goo?
Where I guess Magneto knows specifically that this goo will make it bad goo.
Yeah.
But it's bad goo now.
Uh-huh.
And Cerebro's fucked up.
Uh-huh.
That's it. And she leaves, and nobody finds her again.
I mean, like, if you're already in there, why just fill it with goo? Why not just destroy the freaking thing?
Well, that's, yeah. Because, later on, the goo takes effect, and it's effective goo.
We'll get there, but my point being is, if you're Mystique and your job is take Cerebro offline, wouldn't you just take a sledgehammer to the freaking thing?
That's a good question. Back at the train station, even though Logan has found Rogue and they need no help whatsoever.
Yeah.
Cyclops and Storm are like, spread out. They need help.
Donut Lord, you need work.
James Marsden, for those of you who don't know, is what's his name? Ted? Tom.
Is it Tom?
In the Sonic movies.
He is the human in Sonic.
He is the human Sonic. So Cyclops is just kind of looking around, and Storm is like, great, I'll buy a ticket or something.
Yeah, she is poorly describing Rogue to the train operator.
What did she say? 17, my height.
Like brown hair.
Brown hair.
Oh, girl, this is New York. That is 3/4 of the population.
Everybody's getting a medal for this one. And she is beseeched upon immediately by Sabretooth.
Yeah.
And, like, he grabs her by the back and, like, lifts her up. And the person working the toll booth does nothing. Doesn't call the police. Doesn't go, Sabretooth. Doesn't go, like, do you need help, ma'am? Do you know this man? She's just like, I'm done.
Which might be the most New York reaction that we have here.
Yeah. And this is where I kind of feel that we are underutilizing Storm's power a bit.
Correct. Yes.
Because turn this man into a chicken finger, crispify,
Yeah.
and leave.
I guess her weakness is buildings.
Consarn it.
Which
There's no wind inside Grand Central Station?
or lightning next to this fucking light or whatever. It's not like she can generate lightning herself.
So, rounding out our trio of lackey villains
Yeah.
is the worst part of this movie.
Correct.
And it's Ray Park as Toad. Nothing against Ray Park as an actor, although I hear he was a bit of a bastard.
Do I know him from anything?
If you've ever seen a silent man wielding a sword, that's
Yeah.
Ray Park.
Oh.
He was Darth Maul in the original,
Oh.
in Phantom Menace. He was,
Good for him.
yeah, he's a very good martial artist. But, like, Toad in and of itself is a stupid X-Man.
True.
Oh, he's a stupid. He's got Toad-like qualities. That's his character.
Yeah, he's got an extendo tongue. He can leap.
He eats giant birds.
Yeah, he's gross for the lack of a better situation. Word,
Yeah.
whatever.
So Toad steals Cyclops' goggles, causing him to Cyclops everywhere.
Which I guess he just put Cyclops out of commission because he doesn't have a spare pair of glasses in his pocket.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the world will fucking end if he doesn't keep a spare on him.
You would think, eh? Meanwhile, on the train starts to move. And then it stops moving immediately when somebody starts eating the back of it. Just ripping metal chunks out of the train.
Open the lid like a banana.
And it's Magneto. And it's a cool image seeing a man floating in between, like, a negative space.
Yeah.
And Ian McKellen has that booming voice and that he commands. He commands.
He does. It's true. These are facts. He's also a vampire. He looks exactly the same.
I know, right? So he is like, you two, come with me. And Logan's like, no! Shing! Metal claws! And Magneto's like, fucking, really? And he just like, he actually goes, I hope your entire skeletal structure isn't metal. Oh, no.
Yeah, he lifts him up like it's nothing. And to quote my favorite meme, Wolverine's like, gotta fuck him up! And then he's just like, you are literally made of metal. And he's like, oh no, my bones!
Yeah. Gotta fight Magneto. But, Logan, your entire body is made of metal. Gotta fuck him up. Minutes later. Ah, my bones! And that's what's going on. He is like, he basically uses them as a puppet.
Yeah.
And he takes the metal claws and, like, kind of, like, pulls them apart.
Yeah.
And just kind of, like, wriggles them a little bit. Ow! I
Yeah.
feel like we should have spent more time on how godforsakenly painful that would be. But we just kind of chuck him to the side because we got shit to do. And Logan's like, what is it you want with me? And Magneto's like, with you? I don't want you at all. And Rogue is like, oh, fuck. And Rogue is kidnapped by the Metal Man.
Yes.
Here we have my favorite scene in the film. And he goes to leave the train station. And it is Cop City. And he steps out there, and he's got Sabretooth on one side, he's got Rogue on the other, and he's got like 100 cops in front of him, and he goes, you humans and your firearms. And just takes all of the guns,
Yep.
turns them around, and points them at the police.
This scene lives rent-free in my head.
And they're like, stop, put your hands behind your head. And he's like, no. He's like, anyway, time for bullets. And then Sabretooth reaches over and grabs him by the throat. And we're like, what the hell? And it's Charles possessing Sabretooth.
Mind control, bitches.
Mind control. And we have this back and forth. I just copied and pasted it as is. Magneto goes, why not come out where I can see you, Charles? And Charles goes, what is it you want her for? And Magneto taps his helmet and he goes, can't you read my mind? What now? Save the girl? You'll have to kill me. Yeah, he goes, you'll have to kill me, Charles. And then what will that accomplish? Then they'll pass the law, they'll have you in chains, and then they'll have a number burned on your forehead. Basically saying you have two options. You either kill me and you become the thing they've always hated, or you let me go and you let me go.
And then you let me do the dirty work.
Yeah.
This is not going to end well for either one of us.
Then Xavier goes, it won't be that way. And Magneto goes, then kill me and find out. And he can't do it. So he goes, fine, then release me. And he also doesn't do that. And so he goes, fine. And he points one of the guns at one of the police officers. And he goes, like, let me go, Charles, or this man dies. And then you hear the gun go off. Like, holy shit! And the bullet stops right at his forehead. And he's just holding it there. And then he says, care to press your luck, Charles? I don't know if I can stop them all. Such a good, like... You know, when the villain has one over on the hero, this is done so well. And that's what I mean when I say there's, like, layers to these performances. When Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are on the same screen,
yes,
and they are working together, I don't think there's anything better. Maybe to this day, like, I don't know if anybody in superhero movies have had that rapport,
that much chemistry
with each other. You know what I mean?
Well, we can throw the whole DC universe out. That broke.
Yeah. But even
maybe...
in the MCU, like, I love the MCU, but the villain is just a villain. You know, like, maybe Black Panther?
I was thinking, like, maybe, like, Stark v. Rogers there in Civil War.
You could see that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are better actors than Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.
There's no arguing that. But
yeah, that probably is as close as it gets.
I was about to say that's the second place.
Yeah, because like all the villains in the MCU are major antagonists who we don't spend a whole lot of time with.
Yeah, they're here, they're evil, and then we kick their butts.
Pretty much. Even Thanos, who has probably the most screen time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is just...
Again, here, butts.
Yeah. Anyway, back at the X-Mansion, it is revealed that it is the helmet that Magneto wears that keeps Xavier out of his brain. And Logan, despite just having his ass handed to him, is like, I'm gonna find Rogue. And they're like, stop. But before they can tie his shoelaces together, they get a knock on the door, and it's Senator Kelly.
And a bunch of stolen clothes.
Yeah. And he's like, I would like to speak to Charles Xavier, please. And so Xavier comes up and he's like, hey, what's all this then? And he explains what's going on. And he goes, all right, let me grab your head and I'll reach into your mind. And he goes, I'd rather you didn't. And he goes, you do not have a choice. And he looks into his brain and he finds out exactly what happened. And so this radiation turns non-mutants into mutants. But the problem is, it's not a genuine mutation. It's like an accident. It's something.
It's a forced mutation.
It's a forced mutation, and it is random, and it is not stable. So this mutation is technically ripping apart Senator Kelly from the inside out.
Yeah, because there is a gene in his bloodstream that should not be there.
Yeah. So the other thing is this transformation process causes Magneto a lot of pain, and it's a lot of... It doesn't harm him, and it doesn't take anything away from him. It just exhausts him.
Yeah.
Which kind of leaves it open. So that is where that's going. And Logan is the first one to realize, okay, this is what he wants with Rogue. He is going to transfer his power to Rogue and make Rogue do it. It'll kill her. He'll be fine.
Rude.
Yeah.
Considering that it only makes him, kind of tired, and it will kill her.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Magneto?
Yeah, he's a bad guy, all right. So meanwhile, Kelly asks Storm if she hates normal people. He's on the medical bed, and they're doing tests to make sure he's okay. And he asks if she hates normal people, to which she says, "Yeah, sometimes." And he asks why. He goes, "'Cause I'm afraid of what you'll do to us, and I'm afraid you're afraid of me." And he's like, "Yeah, it's there's so many minds we have to change, but." He goes, "I think you can count on there's at least one less person who's not afraid of you." And then he dies in the most horrific way I've ever seen in a superhero film.
Like, liquefying him would imply that there was bones and stuff in there.
His face contorts. It's almost like he's having a stroke. But then it flattens. And he turns into... Saying he liquefies doesn't, like...
Do it justice.
Do it justice. But it comes so suddenly and almost at random.
Yeah.
And it's very, like, contorted and bloated and gross. And then he just, like, turns all the way to water and then just goes away.
Pure water. Like, it looks like we popped a balloon.
Yeah. It's gross as shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments in this movie that are more... Not more violent, but more shocking than I thought they'd be.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because, in the year 2000, you gotta remember, superhero movies were not seen as good. This is before Spider-Man.
Was it?
Yeah.
Gather around the campfire, children.
Yeah, X-Men, this is honestly the first movie that took superhero films, except for maybe Batman, in a way that, like, this is worth watching.
Like, how did we view did we not care for them?
They were all basically children's movies. They were all,
There was 700 Batman movies. We must have liked some of them.
We did. They were fine. But they weren't, like, worth talking about afterwards. You know what I mean?
I see.
Stuff you would catch on TBS after, after a golf.
Yeah, The Dark Knight wasn't going to come out for quite a few years, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, like I said, this is really the first movie that was like, hey, let's take superheroes seriously. Let's pretend. And then after this, we got Spider-Man, and then, we got Batman, and the train kept it rolling.
We hit some speed bumps along the way, but we kept going.
Yes. So, Professor Xavier slaps on Cerebro to try to find Rogue again. But the Goop from earlier, remember, is now Bad Goop.
Yeah.
And that Bad Goop causes Charles to go into a coma?
I guess.
Yeah, that's really... I can't explain it any more than that. He falls over in his chair, and, like... Whenever a disabled person falls from his chair, that's, like, extra oh no.
You hope it's a miracle.
Yeah, you hope it's a miracle. But, yeah. So, yeah, the Bad Goop has ruined that. He is almost in... Basically, he's in a paralysis. But Cyclops seems to think that he can still see and hear him. Mm-hmm. And so he basically says, hey, listen, no matter what happens, I will take care of these people. Like, no matter how this ends, you can rest easy knowing that the X-Men will be safe. I will take care of them. Then Jean Grey is like, well, maybe I'll put Cerebro on.
Yeah, she goes in and she immediately knows what the problem is. She's like, oh, there's goop in the machine.
Oh, there's Bad Goop.
And all she had to do was turn on the filter. Like, she literally went in there, turned one knob, and the goop went away.
She turned on the pool filter, and was just like, oh, it's Bad Goop. They didn't test the goop.
No.
They didn't, like, what is it that fucked up Charles Xavier? I don't know, it's Bad Goop.
Which means that this has happened before.
This is not the first time.
Because for a medical doctor to know how to fix Cerebro means that this has happened before, she knows where it is, and all she had to do was turn on the pool filter. Like...
So she turns on the pool filter, puts on Cerebro, and finds out where Rogue and I almost said Dr. Manhattan. Different movie. Magneto are. But this, like, it causes, like, a serious effect with her. But again, it's never really explained why. Like, I don't know why.
I think it's because she went too hard too fast.
Maybe.
Because, like, her telekinesis really just seems to grab remote from the other side of the room.
I wish.
Right? That's what I would use it for.
Just to shut off the light when we're in bed. So we find out where they're going, and that is Liberty Island, where the Statue of Liberty is.
Yeah.
That is where we are holding this whole referendum about the Mutant Act. Mm-hmm. And the plan is to cause every major leader to gain some sort of mutation. And do it all at once. The thing is, they imply that Magneto does not know this will kill them.
Yeah, I think he did a test run on Kelly, and he was just like, well, he didn't immediately die.
Yeah, and that's
good work.
He disappeared after that. Like, yeah. Good job, boys! So there is a scene as Magneto is taking Rogue to the area. She is handcuffed to the thing. And there's something about this back and forth. Rogue goes, "Are you gonna kill me?" And Magneto goes, "Yes." And she's like, "Why?" He goes, "Because these people need to know, like, who the other side is, and your sacrifice is gonna make everybody know, like, what it is to be us, and it'll be better for us on the other side." But there's no, like, comforting. There's no, like,
no.
Are you gonna kill me? Yeah, I am. There's such
it's a straightforward application of, are you? Yep.
And it's not in an evil, like, it is a cold, like, no, I'm gonna kill you. Sorry, that's how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, so they go to the X-Men copter. And it is it is Jean Grey, it is Cyclops, it is Storm, and it is Logan. And they talk about, like, we have to get there as fast as we can. And we have this kick-ass jet.
Yeah.
And Logan's like, what if they, like, we're in a jet, what if they find us? And he says, one of my favorite lines, which is, if they have anything that can observe this, they deserve to catch us.
All right.
So they are at most of this climax takes place literally inside the Statue of Liberty. The bad guys are posted in the torch of the Statue of Liberty. That's where the bad guy dome is. So we get where we're going, and we go to fight our way up the thing. And we have a superhero fight between Wolverine and Mystique, who is Wolverine. She's copied Wolverine. So, that's awkward.
Yeah.
And Toad is also here just kind of fucking stuff up for everybody. Yeah, that one's not nearly as interesting. So let's go to Logan versus Mystique. A thing I kind of realized, it's not a mirror match. You know what I mean?
Oh, you don't mean that she can copy their powers?
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. And they didn't just have, like, Hugh fight twice. No, Hugh Jackman, as Mystique, is fighting like Mystique would.
Yeah.
He's not just fighting Wolverine with Wolverine. He looks like Wolverine, but he's fighting like Rebecca Romijn did. And that's a nice little switch up.
Yeah, because she's a shapeshifter. She didn't copy their memories or their ability to fight.
She's also much more acrobatic. She's much more fluid, where Wolverine is named Wolverine.
Literally a cage fighter.
Exactly. So that was really well done. And then we have Cyclops and Storm fighting Toad. And here we go.
Things get stupid from here, folks.
There is... It's just... It's not the best fight scene. They have a moment where, like, Storm finally kind of lets her powers go. And you see lightning and thunder and, this kind of insane power. And we have the line.
Yes.
Which is, as the Toad sticks his tongue out, she, like, grabs a hold of it and says, "Do you have any idea what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? Same thing as everything else." Somebody got paid to write that.
And it was probably Joss Whedon.
It was Joss Whedon. If you hear Joss Whedon talk about it, he says it was meant to be said as a joke.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else.
So is this a problem on the director, on Halle Berry's part? Who do I blame for this?
A little bit of everybody. First of all, that's not really a line that Storm would say. Like, Storm isn't very jokey.
No, she isn't. She's very serious. She's kind of uptight, honestly.
To a point, yeah. And I find a lot of Joss Whedon's writing betrays that with characters sometimes. Like, he's got to put in the little quips and the little things, despite... Yeah. And, you know, I do like that in a lot of... I do like Joss Whedon's writing. Mm-hmm. At least I used to. But, yeah, when it comes to, like, this, you just, like, rein yourself in a little bit, my man.
But, like, here's the thing. Toad came through and basically kicked all three of their butts in rapid succession. He put goop over Jean Grey's face.
Stopped her from breathing.
Stopped her from breathing.
Yeah.
He locked Cyclops in the closet. Mm-hmm. And then he just sort of bonked Storm in the head. A Toad shouldn't have taken out our three best X-Men in under 2 minutes. You understand?
Yeah. There's going to be one person listening to this who is a huge Toad fan.
And they're wrong. Come at me. I have done a deep dive into this in the name of D&D. You're wrong.
Yes.
We had hundreds of X-Men to choose from, and this is what you went with?
Not a great idea. I miss Gambit. Anyway.
Where is Gambit?
I don't know.
Where's Pietro? They had Pietro?
I don't know. So they kind of put that aside. Logan fights off Mystique, and he runs into the group. He's like, "Hey, we gotta go." And they look to him, and they're like, "Wait a minute. Prove to us that you're the real Wolverine." And Wolverine looks to Cyclops and goes, "You're a dick." Cyclops goes, "All right." That was probably also a Joss Whedon line, now that I think about it.
Yeah, but it's pretty funny. That I'm willing to let go because it's two dudes and, like, that's what dudes do.
Yeah. So, we make it up to the head of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And Magneto's like, "Oh, you're here. I'm going to stop you in your tracks." Mm-hmm. So he has a thing where he takes the metal of the Statue of Liberty and basically ties them up. Mm-hmm. He ties it so that Logan's claws are faced inward. So if he were to use them, he would impale himself. He locks Cyclops in so that he is staring at Jean Grey and takes the visor off. So that if he opens his eyes, she will be lasered to death. And Storm is just kind of tied up.
Yeah.
Because, like, he says, like, "Storm, fry him!" And he goes, "Oh, good idea. Like, let loose a lightning bolt inside a copper dome." And he stops and he goes, "I thought you lived at a school." Hi, Joss. And so that's kind of the position we find ourselves in during this, the epic finale.
Yeah.
And so he sets up Rogue inside the torch. He gets the big mutant machine up, and the process begins. He kind of puts his hands on Rogue and begins to siphon his power into her as she begins the process of mutatification. And we're the X-Men are tied up, and they're like, I don't see a plan B here. And so Logan, he has this moment just like, okay, if I have to. And lets the claws go, and it impales him through the shoulders, but it also cuts him free. And he goes, and he falls, and he collapses onto the ground unconscious. Or so we think. Sabretooth goes over and is like, you okay? And we get into a fist fight. As we fight atop the head of the
Statue of Liberty.
Of the Statue of Liberty, as you do.
Yep.
And this is where the movie, the CGI up until now has been very good. But as we get into more fantastical things, you remember this is the year 2000. Like, computers weren't as...
This was really good for 2000, though.
I thought so, too. But, like, the thing where he like swings around on the crown
Yeah.
of the Statue of Liberty. We can't do that now, let alone in the year 2000. You know?
Yeah, but it did really well. It looked really good for 2000.
Yeah.
You know, for what they had to work with. And it wasn't like a whole lot, but it was cutting edge at the time.
They did what they could. But things get more and more CG now as we go along. And it just becomes more obvious. It's not necessarily bad, but it comes out as kind of obvious. So, as this is going on, they throw Wolverine up, kind of to fight off Sabretooth. Once that's done, he goes down, he frees everybody. And they're like, okay, what do we do? And they can see the torch from where they are.
Uh-huh.
And Scott is like, I'm gonna shoot him. And they're like, that's a bad idea, you'll hit and kill everybody.
How dumb are you?
And Storm is like, they're like, Storm, fly up there. And she's like, that's not really how it works, I'll overshoot him. Alright. And Wolverine's like, fucking, I'll do it. And they're like, no. And he's like, why not? Like, I'll get up there, and if I fail, you can still shoot him. And they're like, son of a bitch, he's right.
But, like, okay, we missed the obvious answer.
Which is?
Storm calls the lightning and just shocks the fucking thing.
Well, remember, the whole thing's copper, and it would just fry everybody.
No, it's a Faraday cage.
It's a Faraday cage?
When you shock a metal thing from the outside, the things inside don't cook. It only shocks the outside.
Well, you don't want to hurt Rogue either.
Oh, that's fair. But you're also trying to stop a bunch of people from dying.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah. So the wave of radiation kind of goes utterly bodily.
It's starting to grow, people.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to mention that we got rid of Sabretooth by basically yeeting Scott's glasses at his face at an angle and then blasting his ass off the Liberty.
Oh, that's true. I apologize. Thanks for coming up with that. So as the radiation is expanding, Magneto is focusing not only on keeping the thing going, but also Wolverine's in his way.
Yeah.
And so he's got him up and he's suspending him and he's like pulling apart at the metal, which again must be horrifically painful. Mm-hmm. And Scott's got a shot and he's wide open. So boom, he concusses him, shocking him in the back, causing everything to fall and the machine to stop. Mm-hmm. But Rogue is too weak. This is basically the effort has killed her. She comes out with a streak in her hair. I don't really know why.
Because that's the iconic Rogue streak.
I know, it looks good. But I don't know if it's because bits of Magneto, like the power transfer,
Stress.
went for too long, if it was stress. I don't know, but that's a cool way to give her the streak in her hair. She is, if not just unconscious, she's dead. So Wolverine kind of runs over and touches her face, trying to impart his healing factor on her once again. Mm-hmm. But they wait and they wait. It doesn't happen and it doesn't happen. And then it happens all at once. And in an immediate switch, Rogue wakes up, but the wounds that Wolverine kind of inflicted upon himself, stabbing through his body to open up, to get out, open up, and just, like, blood everywhere.
Yeah, he kind of opens up like a balloon. It's not good.
It's not great. But that is kind of how it overpowers him and tears himself apart. And once again, for I believe the 6th or 7th time, causes Logan to pass out.
It is a theme.
But the day is no less safe. So Xavier and Logan, they are in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Xavier wakes up from his coma and looks to Jean Grey and goes, he kind of looks around. He sees that we're still here, which is good news.
Yeah.
And he goes, so how did we do? 6 out of 10.
Could have been better.
They kind of get up, they get back and going. Xavier tells Logan that they have some answers as to who the hell he is and where he could find something like that. He points in kind of a general direction. Go up there. To which he's like, aces, all right. He's like, are you going to say goodbye? And he's like, absolutely not. He slaps on his backpack and is just like, well, see ya. He kind of looks in and he sees everybody doing their mutant thing, watching TV. Mm-hmm. The thing has the Mutant Registration Act has failed because Robert Kelly has decided against it. I know what you're thinking. I was confused too. But as they're watching it, they pause it and they see Mystique's eyes. Mystique is now Robert Kelly for as long as they need him. Which is messed up.
I mean, if they just did that in the first place, we wouldn't have to go through his convoluted plan of making everyone mutants.
Yeah. So he tries to slip out, or Logan tries to slip out the bag. And she's like, hey! And she looks like Jean Grey. Like, you got the dark hair and the white tie.
You mean Rogue?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rogue. I mix up Rogue and Jean Grey all the time. Because I'm not very knowledgeable about this thing.
Yeah, so Rogue and Jean Grey should be the same age, but they're not.
They're very much not.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, hey, you running again? And he literally goes, no. And Rogue says, hey, look, I'm gonna just come right outside. I don't want you to go. I want you to stay. I want you to stay with us. We found a place where we can live. And he takes off his dog tag, which he has held since then, giving him his name, the Wolverine.
I guess it was a war thing.
Yeah. And he gives it to her and he says, I'm going to come back for that, so keep it. And he leaves. He sees the motorcycle off to the side, and he's like, yep. And he is off motorcycling away.
You would think fucking Cyclops would not stop leaving the keys in the motorcycle.
Yeah, but he's stupid.
It's true. He is.
And then we go to a very well-known scene of Professor Xavier and Magneto playing chess in prison with the the see-through chess pieces. Everything has to be plastic because there's no metal.
You guys could have made it glass, but okay.
It might be glass. The chess set.
No, he said you had to keep me in this plastic prison.
Yeah, the prison is plastic, but the chess set could be glass.
Oh, fair enough.
Whatever it is, it's cool. And we have this back and forth, which is, again, I just copied and pasted verbatim. Magneto. Does it ever wake you in the middle of the night, the feeling that one day they will pass that foolish law or one just like it and come for you and your children? Xavier. It does indeed, yes. What do you do when you wake up to that? I find a great swell of pity for the poor soul who comes to that school looking for trouble. Magneto. Why do you come here, Charles? Xavier. Why do you ask questions to which you already know the answer? Magneto. Ah, yes, your continuing search for hope. He says, you know the plastic prison of theirs won't keep me forever. The war is still coming, Charles, and I intend to fight it by any means necessary. And Professor Xavier says, and I will always be there, old friend. As he gets carted away, he looks towards the chess set and knocks his queen over as he was in checkmate. This is one of those moments that, like, the good guy and the bad guy playing chess and that kind of... It's a metaphor, and it might be overused, but God, if it's not bitchin'. I'm sorry, I just... Anywho, the world is saved, the Registration Act has fallen, Magneto is in jail, Rogue has a family, everybody's happy, curtain down. What'd you think?
We only said the word bub once in the entire movie.
That is true, we did get one bub.
No, we needed more. One per every fucking fight scene we had.
More bubs?
Yes.
Okay.
Why was Storm here other than to be like, hi, I'm Storm?
So apparently, and I don't know where I heard this, but Halle Berry, like, Storm wasn't in it. It was in it even less. But Halle Berry wanted more screen time.
Fair
And
enough.
so we got what we got.
But if you're gonna bring her to the fight, you're gonna need to use her powers.
Yeah, they didn't really power scale this.
Because, like, you know what would have saved a lot of people? If Storm just created, you know, a storm outside to make the outside gala go away.
Yeah, but then it could be seen as like, oh, the mutants are trying to stop us.
Yeah,
We
but
gotta pass this even more.
how would they know that it was her and not freak weather?
Well, you know, she's gotta be there, you know?
That's true. My
Uh,
point being is, like, if you bring her to the fight,
do something with it?
do something with her.
I feel you. But outside of that, like, this holds up really well.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's 25 years old. And a lot of it feels just as relevant, and then, you know, the filmmaking is as good as you'd see today. It's a little bit too fast. I think a lot of scenes need to kind of stretch out a little bit more, chill out a little bit more. You don't have to be quite as quick cutty, and, like, you know, the scenes can be a little bit longer to really get your point across. But
We may need to drop this whole Senator Kelly thing and just make some assumptions about what the magnet ray can do.
yeah. But yeah, outside of that, like, honestly, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was gonna. I don't know why. There's just something about it that, like, I don't know, but we'll see. So I think I'm caught between a 7.5 and an 8. And I think I've been leaning 8.
I give it a 7.
A 7?
Yeah.
Why a step lower?
Because their inappropriate use of Halle Berry / Storm, you know, explain to me what this goop is and how it fucks with
It's
Cerebro.
goop. What more do you want?
Why doesn't Charles Xavier have little bits of security on the school for gifted mutants?
Well, I believe that, like, part of it is he believes in humanity to a fault.
Okay, but, like, not everyone should be able to get to Cerebro.
Well, yeah. Well, she did, you know, change her face to look like
Okay, that's true, but how'd Jean Grey get it?
she is also a professor. That is a good point. So 7.5, you think?
Yeah, I think
between the
that's
two of
fair.
us? I think that's good too. So yeah, this is a good starting point.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. Like, it's a fair movie. It just has some...
So a little couple niggling.
Yeah.
I do know that X2 is the one that everybody loves.
Yeah.
And I do know that X3 is not.
It's the one everyone hates.
And yeah, again, this is one of the, I've heard of X3. I know what people think. I've never seen it myself. So I can't say for good. But trilogies, like third movies in this series, don't end well. So we will see when we get there. But next time, and there will be a next time, I'm saying this to myself more than anybody else, we will take on X2.
What's happened to you?
Don't you remember?
You should have killed me when you had the chance!
Kill him, Bobby!
No!
Welcome, Professor.
You haven't told him about his past.
Who was he?
I can't remember.
Sometimes anger can help you survive.
The war has begun.
Eric, what have you done?
And next time we will add in, as every movie does eventually, a character played by Alan Cummings.
Is that true?
Yeah, he plays Nightcrawler.
Does he really?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I love Alan Cummings, but every time he's in a movie, I always follow it like, you have to say like, oh, Alan Cummings is in it. No, you don't understand. It's terrible.
But you just said 2 is...
That's why it's a lot of hope. But until next time, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more of it, you have money burning a hole in your pocket for some reason, you can go ahead and go to patreon.com/emptysquare. Throw us a couple bucks, and you could pick the next movie we do. You can force us to do a whole bunch of stuff. There's behind-the-scenes stuff. You can be written into an episode of the Brightwell podcast. There's a bunch. But if you don't got the money, just subscribing is cool too. If you want to catch us elsewhere in the world, I am on Blue Sky. I am on at emptysquared.bluesky.social. I am also on Twitter, but you shouldn't be. It's at emptysquare there too. If you're watching on YouTube, we are on Spotify under Binging with Badness. If you're on Spotify, we're on YouTube under the Brightwell podcast. And for while it's still here, we're on TikTok.
That's true. It's a treasure hunt. Come find me.
Yes. I, however, am right out there in the open. I am at emptysquare pro, EMPTYSQUAREPRO. And until they take that away from us, I would make a little stuff there. But yeah, until then, keep yourself safe. It's cold out. Keep yourself warm. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you were here. And we will see you in the next one.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.